Welcome back to Mike on the Mics. What's up, dude?
What up, Mike?
Oh, this is fun. I think we got a good show.
I think we do too. I'm really excited about this one. Got a lot to throw at everybody, but I think it's going to be a good one. Heavy Tigers today.
I mean, this is it, right? We're hitting the dog days.
Yep.
Right. It's going to be a lot of heavy baseball stuff.
Yep.
Getting into the Tigers, what they've been up to.
Yep. There's been a lot of baseball played. I think we got a good grasp of where this team is at, and I think it's going to be fun to kind of dissect it and see what we come up with a couple of their situations they got going on.
Yeah, and we'll have some fun with this show with talking about what we would do if we were running things, if we want to buy, sell, what we think, and what we think the Tigers should be doing come the end of July when that trade deadline comes up.
Yep, and that'll be here before we know it. So we'll get a really good idea of where the mindset of this team is at. So, but anyways, how you doing, Mike?
I'm good. I don't have any complaints. Things are good. It's been kind of a boring week. Nothing really to report.
Sometimes boring is good and quiet is good.
That is very true.
Yep.
We all did have fun last weekend together, seeing the family band play and all the friends getting together. That was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, always a good time at the rec with the
at the rec. Yeah.
Yep, getting wrecked at the rec. But yeah, good week.
It's Thursday. Tigers won today.
They did win.
They did win 7-2. They had I think it was the seventh inning. They put up 5 runs.
Yep.
So that was good. I didn't even realize they had a 1:00 start till I was leaving work and they were on. That was a nice surprise.
Yeah, I checked the score at work and happened to their bipolar Tigers came to play again today. So that was cool, I guess. But
they've been showing up. They did that the other day. They were up like 2-0 against Milwaukee. I think it was Sunday. I was watching the game, and then all of a sudden, the 5th inning, 8 runs.
Yeah.
Like they just pile them all on in one inning.
Yep.
That seems to be happening a lot. That or they don't score at all.
Yeah. It's like they get like their hitting is like diarrhea. It doesn't it just comes on strong like all at once and then it's done.
I mean, you can completely tell that baseball is contagious. Hitting's contagious.
Yeah.
Errors are contagious. Bad pitching, good pitching. It all kind of flows together.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. It's crazy. So, how do you want to start, Mike? I think we want to really dive into the Tigers, but I think we need to provide some context, give the listeners some stats, remind them of where this team is at in the standings. Yeah. I mean, and just kind of paint that picture and then get into what I think what each of us would do. We're going to play like the GM owner role. We're going to switch back and forth, and I'm curious to hear what Mike's going to have to say. And let's just get right into it. The team currently, they're 33-35. They're 11 games back in the division. And I will say, I know the bottom half of the division sucks, but the top half is a lot better than I thought. Cleveland is 20 games above 500, if not better. Kansas City's really good. So the division's a little bit better.
What about the White Sox? I mean, they got 17 wins. We don't want to talk about
Yeah, if this is football, that'd be great.
I'm really surprised on what our division. I mean, if you go back and listen to other episodes, all I said was our division is bad.
Yeah.
Our division is bad. We knew I thought it was going to be all about Minnesota and us coming through. Minnesota's in 3rd place.
Yeah, they're not bad either. They're not.
And I was looking. What's crazy is, I mean, one that Cleveland is 43-23. That high above 500.
Yeah.
And Kansas City. But I was looking because I like to do this. Like, where would the Tigers be sitting in another division?
Yeah.
And I went through, and obviously the AL East, we'd be in last place because that's just they're a powerhouse division.
Yeah.
But you look at the AL West, we'd be in 2nd place. You look at the NL East, we'd be in 3rd place. You look at the NL Central, we'd be in 2nd place, be in 3rd place. I mean, it's just crazy that we're in 4th place and we're 11 games back. But you look at any other division, we'd be in 2nd or 3rd place, which I know that
I like the optimism.
It's just having fun.
I know.
Having fun looking at
good.
it, but it gives me hope because it's not like we're not that far behind. Yes, Cleveland is having a hell of a season.
Yeah.
But we're kind of right there in the pack.
Yeah.
With the rest of the teams, right? Coming in, we're not that far behind where it's just a bomb of a season.
It's just the team is so weird because it's really hard to put a finger on like, okay, what does this team need? Obviously it needs hitting, okay? But it's just you can't really just put like, okay, do we sit and wait for these young guys to develop or do we get aggressive now and it's just they're in this weird treading water stage, and it's just
Well,
you could argue either direction for this team. But
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
And when we get into like what we think they should be doing, I have an opinion on both sides.
Yeah, you could argue.
I really
any
do. It
scenario.
is hard, and I think it was ESPN the other day. They went through all 30 teams and like what they think they should do, right? Buy or sell with the trade deadline coming up, because that's like all the talk. What we could do. We're coming up on halfway through the season.
Yep.
We still have over a month until the trade deadline even happens, but they got to the Tigers, and they had the Tigers ranked at 19th in the league, and they were like,
We don't know.
we don't know. We don't know what they should do.
Yeah.
I mean, you can buy, you can sell, but I mean, buying, selling. I mean, we're gonna sell off our young players. Who are you gonna go buy?
Right.
You're gonna things could hurt us in the long run, but we'll get into that. But
Yeah. I do want to kind of, like I said, paint the picture of where this team is at. Kind of give you some hard stats, and then definitely get into that, because I think with once we paint this picture, we can get into the. I think there's 3 scenarios with this team, and I think that's pretty obvious what those are. But anyways, so I did some research today. Hitting, obviously the hitting, that's always talked about it. People are always bitching about the hitting, and rightfully so. This team at times is just dreadful to watch.
We've been saying this from the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I've came on here and was just like, no offense, can't do anything. We're not hitting.
No
Pitching's
plate
great.
discipline.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you send Skubal out there? Only gives up 2 runs, and we lose 2-0. Come
Right.
on.
Speaking of Skubal, can I give you a stat real quick about him?
Yes.
If you took him out of the equation, the Tigers would be 10 games under 500 when he does not pitch. So that just kind of paint, you know what I mean?
This guy's
Shows
a
you
stud.
Yeah, he's a monster. I mean, where did we find him? Out of Seattle in the 10th round, 9th round, and he's just the other day he threw 102 miles an hour, just threw it right by him. I mean, yeah,
He's got some nasty stuff.
He's good, and I think he's untouchable. But
When he pitched the other day, they were showing his pitch count. I think it was like the 6th inning. And it was somewhere like the first inning was like, 16 pitches. And the second inning was like 23. And then it was like 7, 6, 9.
Yeah, just-
like that's insane
Yeah.
that he is just coming out single digit pitching for multiple innings in a row.
right, he's like your left-handed Verlander. You know what I mean? As far as like the way he kind of approaches, he attacks you. He's not afraid to throw the ball by you. He's got some great stuff. He can locate. I don't know, man. I really like him. I just hope they need more pieces around him, because you lose him at this point. This team's bad.
No. And you bring up Verlander, and I was looking at some stats earlier, and I know we're only halfway through the season, but I was looking at Verlander's Cy Young MVP season that he won in, what was that, 2011?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2011. And, Skubal is right on track. I mean, I think he's at a 1.9 ERA.
Like a .87
And a point,
whip.
Yeah. And
That's just
and
sickening.
Verlander was like a 2.5 ERA, and he was like a .91 whip at the time.
And what is Skubal, 25 right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. The season's still long, but I mean, at this point, he just
you
looks,
can't say that Skubal is not the number one, top 3, if not the number 1 candidate for the Cy Young Award right now.
He should be number 1. He should be absolutely number 1.
I don't see anybody else pitching like he is.
And if the team was better, in a wild card position or number 1 in their division or whatever, he would be a lock for a Cy Young at this point.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
And I've never been one to really care about a pitcher's win-loss records, because they can't help. I mean, if they go out and give up 8 runs and they lose the game, it is what it is. But when he's going out, I mean, he has a lot of no decisions because we
team's
can't
just
give
not-
him
yeah.
the offense. But
King Felix, that one year he won the Cy Young, was 13-12 for the Mariners.
I really
So
don't.
just-
Yeah, you
that's-
really
it's
can't.
it's a useless
if
stat.
If your
win-loss
team
sometimes.
is not helping you out. Now, sure, there are games where you're going to get beat up a little bit, and that is on you. That is your fault that you lost the game because you gave up. So
then you
many hits
deserve
and-
that L.
You deserve that.
Yeah.
But as far as the wins go, I mean, you have nothing to do with the wins.
Yeah.
Other
Reese
than
Olson was
making
struggling
you
with
pitch,
that this year.
You pitch
yeah.
a solid game now, but you're relying on 9 other guys to come in and the batter's box
Yep.
and get you that run support.
Yeah, if a pitcher can go 6-7 innings, 2 runs, you know what I mean? He should get a win automatically.
And I don't understand, and not in a bad way. I guess I don't really know what Scott Harris or Fetter or Hinch's process is. I haven't really looked into, but why they limit Skubal. He's always coming out in the 6th inning, or 6 2/3 innings. Right? They're only letting him at a certain pitch count. I understand he's young, but man, let this kid cook.
Yeah.
Let him go. I mean, and I know pitchers don't pitch complete games, and I'm not asking him to do that, but he just, and it feels like every time right after that, you got our bullpen coming in and giving up some hits, giving up some runs. And I know they're trying to preserve his arm, but.
Right. I think I don't. The only way I can to answer that would be, for one, I think AJ has a lot of confidence in his bullpen. Two, Skubal did have some arm injuries in college, and I think that's why he fell. So I don't know. I think he's really trying to be careful with these young guys. I think, the issues he's had with Mize and Manning, and I think Skubal's, he's had it too as a professional. He's just trying to be really careful of these starters. It's crazy.
And I can understand that
but it's you go back 30, 40 years, and Nolan Ryan pitching into his late 40s, and I mean, if you try to yank him out of the game, he's going to punch you in the mouth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, even back to young Verlander, 12, 11, 10, 09, I mean, he's pitching complete games.
He's going 7, 8 innings.
It's very rare that a pitcher does a complete game now.
Yeah.
And I understand, arm injuries, and guys, I feel like multiple guys every year are getting Tommy John surgery or something's happening, but
the guys are throwing a lot harder now, and they're it's absolutely ridiculous what these guys are able to do. I mean, like, on average, you better have a mid-90s fastball. Like, back in the day, you were like a stud if you could throw a mid-90s fastball. Now, if you don't have that with some movement, you're probably going to get torched.
I think it was Skubal the other day, 98-mile-per-hour slider.
That's
You try to hit that thing, it's coming right at you and then drops off the table at 98 miles per hour. You can't set up for that.
Yeah.
That's just crazy.
He's a stud. What they've done with him is really impressive. What they've done with the pitching staff, I think, in general, because a lot of these guys, like these Holtons and these Reese Olsons and blah blah blah, you go back and look
Reese
at their mind.
Is another stud.
Yeah, he's been pitching really well too. He did get beat up a couple. His last couple outings haven't been that good, but overall, you still can't complain, because you look at their minor league stats, they were not that good. But whatever Federer's doing with some of these guys is working.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the stats, like I said, they're 10th in pitching ERA. Okay, that's kind of dropped off a little bit, but that happens. But you look on the opposite side of their 24th in batting average, 27th in on base. It's just like it's a complete opposite.
Well, we had a really bad May. We had a really bad May all-around team, hitting and pitching.
11 and 16, they finished in May. So,
so that's going to – because before that, we were 5th overall pitching?
Yep, yeah. We've always been like top 5, top 7 in pitching, so they did get beat around. But that happens. You knew the pitching was going to kind of level off a little bit because it was so good. But where they're at still right now, I think is fine. And they got some horses in the minors that they can rely on if they need to. And
again, we're still a really young team.
Yeah,
I said this at the beginning. Having such a young team is gonna help us or it's gonna hurt us. I mean, you're gonna go through these phases. They're either all gonna click.
Yep.
At the same time. Mm-hmm. But you're also gonna stumble along the way because they are so young, getting used to it.
Right.
Right. I mean, especially, these young pitchers, they're going up against these veterans that have been looking at a 100-mile-per-hour fastball for the last 12 years of their career.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing up there.
And I think you can see the difference between playing at AAA and then playing in the majors. I mean, just go look at Parker Meadows and Spencer Torkelson's stats right now in AAA. They're mashing.
Yeah.
But then you look at the difference between AAA to the big leagues. It's massive. It's not the same from going from AA to AAA. AAA to the MLB, obviously, is just massive.
No, and you get a lot of those guys, and I hope it's not, but unfortunately, Torkelson might be falling into that. He's too good for AAA, but he's not good enough for the show.
He's a 4A player, yeah.
4A player, and but we can't have that.
I know. He's going to be 25 this year. I've always kind of had this made-up rule in my head that you can't give up on a guy until he hits 26-ish, 27. JD Martinez, when we pulled him up, he was 27. We found something with him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm not willing to give up on Torque yet. But you're not seeing a lot of positives here right now.
No, and he's had some flashes in the pan here or there, but it's so inconsistent and such a small sample size of what you think he could do, right? Like earlier this year when he finally started hitting home runs, right? He had, a few of them within a week or so. And you're like, okay, here he comes. And then
drops off again.
just done. And it's like you
Yeah.
can't have that. And like when
Yeah.
he drops off hard.
Yeah.
It's not just, oh, I'm not hitting home runs or I'm not hitting for power. Like you're just not hitting at all.
Yeah. Parker Meadows went through that. Colt Keith is going through that now. He kind of looked like he was coming on, and then he just jumped off a cliff too.
But this you're getting into, we're just now approaching the hardest part of the season, right? You're already 60 some games in.
Yeah.
Right? You still have 100 more to go.
Yeah.
It's hot out there.
It's-
You're in
yeah,
the dog
that's-
days of
yeah,
summer.
it's the grind
right?
part, yeah.
This is it, right? And then, hopefully by the end of July, right? You start thinking July 15th, July 20th, July 25th. We're hoping we're still 3 games out of the wild card, maybe in the wild card, maybe move up and and we can start to see what this team might actually do. And then you start to see the teams come around like, okay, we're really going to make a push. Start seeing things heat up a little bit, but
Yeah.
it's a long season.
It is,
and it's
yeah.
hard to take. Like we lost this series to the Nationals,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah, that sucks, but that's because we're breaking down every game, every series.
Mm-hmm.
In the overall span of it, okay, you're gonna lose series here or there. You just don't want to lose multiple in a row.
Mm-hmm. It's just right now it looks bad because they've had a bad month in May, and then they're starting off June kind of. You know what I mean?
And
It's-
and this happened with Milwaukee. Same thing happened with Nationals, right? You lose the first 2,
and the Nationals aren't a good team either.
No, they're not a
No.
good team. And you lose late in the game to the Nationals yesterday. Then you come out and beat them up pretty good. Same thing with Milwaukee. Milwaukee come out, kicked our butt last weekend, but then we destroy them on Sunday.
Yeah.
And it's like, where
Still
is
losing
that?
series. You're
still losing series.
You can't. You know what I mean? That adds up over time. That just gets you farther down in the division and just farther away from your goals. And I don't even know what this team's goals are. I mean, you really don't have an idea of what this team was pushing for this year because they didn't do anything in the offseason, really. And then, what are they going to do at the trade deadline? Like, I have no idea. I really have no idea what they plan on doing. But I'm going to say this. This is Scott Harris's one of his most important what's the word I'm looking for? Situations or times in his tenure right now.
yeah.
This is a very important. This can drive the team in one direction or it can drive it in another. Hopefully we don't have another Troy Weaver on our hands or
Yeah.
you know what I mean? He seems to be a little bit smarter. The whole Eduardo Rodriguez thing worried me a little bit last year, just kind of seeing what happened, and I don't know.
Yeah, that seemed like that was a fumble on his part. We also don't know, and I'm only giving him the benefit of the doubt because we all know Chris Ilitch is not spending money. He doesn't want to spend money.
Yep.
We know he's not his dad. So I think a little bit of that is Chris handcuffing him, but at the same time, he's like, well, what do you want this team to be?
Yeah.
Like, what are you looking for? What do you want me to do? All these small little moves or trades that's not really going to help us. You need to either make an impact, whether it's you sell or you go buy somebody.
Yeah.
Right. And
I'm hoping that, I'm not saying this is what I'm predicting. I'm just hoping that they looked at this previous offseason and looked at listen, we have way too many young guys in this team still too. We have too many guys in this team that probably aren't here long term, like Canna, Vierling, McKinstry.
Well,
you know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. So what do you have so many young guys that you could go get.
I
could
know.
go get somebody, but the thing is, I feel like with a lot of these young guys, you're gonna sell them, and what do you get? You're just gonna get another rental. You're gonna get a veteran. You're gonna get a good player, but are you really gonna go get rid of, one of these young guys and bring in a veteran that's gonna sign a 5-6 year deal? No, probably not. You're
Right.
gonna just have a bunch of Flaherty's, Cannas,
You're right. That's
running
what
around on the field, and like, okay, well that's great for this year, but okay, well what about next year?
I know, and I think that the reason why they did what they did was because they knew that these young kids weren't ready to win yet. You know
Right.
what I mean? That's the only thing I can that I'm trying to get in their head, and that's the only thing I can think.
Then why
right.
didn't you go get somebody in the offseason?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't think they thought that this team was ready this year. That's my take. I might be totally wrong, or the whole Javi Baez thing is completely
Don't
just
even.
the whole. I know I said the name. The whole Javi Baez thing might just scare them shitless because they don't want to. They don't want to have that guy in the books and then go sign somebody else with the thought.
Then
you know what
don't
I mean?
give some guy a 10-year or whatever his contract. Don't give him so,
I know.
so
Thanks,
much money.
thanks, Avila. Oh, let me
Yeah.
ask you about a Baez. So he just went on the the injured list
Yeah.
with a what was it, lumbar spine inflammation, something I guess he's had over time. I don't. That doesn't explain why he swings at every freaking slider in the dirt. But why do you think this could be the end for Baez? Do you think this signals the end?
Let me listen. You know about how I feel about Baez. I can't stand him. Get him off my team. Pay him out. Do whatever you want.
Yep.
I don't want anyone to go out injured. I don't wish the injury on anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But let's face it, we're better off without him. Yeah, I think it is. I don't understand how you can go and send Torque down, but you're not going to DFA Baez. What, because of his contract? Then just buy him out. You know he's not good for us. And I brought a nice little Baez stat with me today because you know how much I love him.
Let's hear it.
So, the worst OPS in MLB history was by Bobby Bryan in 1908. Baez's OPS is 456. He almost has obviously the season's not over, but he almost has the worst OPS in MLB history.
For a season?
For a season.
Okay.
The Bobby Bryan, that's
like
for
qualified.
For a whole season.
Yeah, for
but
qualified.
Baez right now is at 456 OPS. That is so bad.
Wow.
That is so bad.
And for everybody listening, OPS is on base plus slugging. Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Would you say 456? There's guys that have an on base percentage of 456.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like Mike
I
Trout probably.
think the league average OPS is around 700, just north of 700.
730.
Yeah.
It's 730. Yes. So just to put it in context, that's.
An all-star player is hitting 8 to just north of 800 OPS.
Yep. If you're a stud, you're a stud, or an elite, you're 900 or right around there.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. You're talking like you
That's
go back in the
crazy.
day to like a Mike Trout or something. Or, you look at, and when I was looking up this stat, everything kept showing like the best, and like it kept showing like I think Babe Ruth like whole career was 1.017
For
like
his
over
OPS?
1,000 OPS
Wow.
for his career, and like that's insane. But yeah, here Baez is, and I know the season's not over, right? But still, like to me, that's why are we not looking at this?
Well, it makes sense. I mean, like if he truly has an injury, when I first saw it, I'm like, okay, he's quote unquote injured, but this is like the beginning of the contract talks to get him out.
Yeah.
But then I started hearing a little bit more. He's had this issue before, and it explains it. I'm like, okay, the guy obviously can't play. You know what I mean? If this is still going on, you see it when he's up to bat. I mean, he literally just has nothing when he's up to bat. He used to be an elite fielder, right?
Yeah. I mean, so his career average, because I looked that up, his career average right now, since he's been in the league, he's up over 700 OPS.
Okay.
For his
That's pretty-
career.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Because he was a pretty good player,
Yeah.
a really good player.
And
back
also,
with-
he was an elite defender, and he has not been that since he's been a Tiger.
No. I always thought, and I liked watching his highlights because he's flashy, but a lot of the time you look back, he's flashy for no reason sometimes. Just make the throw.
Yeah. Dude, you didn't need to jump.
Yeah. You didn't have to spin around 360 and make it around,
Right, just throw him out. Yeah, I get it.
It is fun to see the flashy plays, and sometimes it is needed, but you look back and I'm like, you didn't really have to
Yeah.
have to do that. But
Okay.
yeah, so that's my bias stat.
That's crazy.
I don't want
That's
anything
interesting.
bad to happen to him injury wise like that. It sucks for
I
any
know.
player, but you know what? Get him off the team. He's stealing from us, right? He's just robbing us blind. Like the guy's getting like what, $20,000 in that bat or something like that, right? And he just throw it 6 feet out to the left side of the plate, and he's gonna swing at it.
Takes us months to earn that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's really hard to watch, and it's just it's really frustrating when you I think mainly because like he's got 3 or 4 years left on that deal, and it's just like, oh my god, they're gonna have to write $100 million, $80 million.
And you know what? And I think it's gonna suck, but you can defer payments and stuff, and just get him off the team. And I understand we have other problems.
Yeah.
There's other players on this team that aren't, but most of our guys are still under team control.
Yeah.
Right. These guys are all making the league minimum, or just a couple million.
The payroll's
dollars,
still very low.
right? But when you're paying
payroll's still
somebody
very low.
$120 million contract, and you're performing like a AA player.
Yeah, no, they need to invest for the future, and that might mean eating that contract and just coming up with the money to invest in yourself for future assets later on, because he's eating up a roster spot. You know what I mean? And it's just you can't send him down unless you DFA him or however it works. And it's frustrating. But I think I do believe this could be the beginning of the end, just with this whole thing going on with his injury. So we'll have to keep an eye on that and see. What's
but you
up.
know, I mean, if I was biased, I wouldn't want to leave either, because you're not going to get signed by anybody.
No, you're going to sign a minor
You're
league
gonna
deal.
go, exactly.
Yeah, for pennies on the dollar compared to what you're making now. So,
All right, so trade deadline
yep, it's
coming up.
Yep,
All right, we got over a month.
Yep.
End of July. Coming up, approaching halfway through the season. What do you think? What would you do? Are you buying? Are you selling? I want to know what you would do, and we kind of already covered it, and what you think the Tigers are going to do. I mean, we kind of covered. We have no idea what they're going to do because we're in this weird spot. But what?
Yeah. Well, let me say this first. Like I this team right now, you can argue the three
Remind you,
scenarios.
it's been 10 years since we've made it to the playoffs.
Right, when we got swept.
Yes.
Mr.
Because
Brad Ausmus
that plays into my decision.
for sure. That's
of
that's
what
totally
I would
fine.
do. So
That's
but-
totally fine. Yeah, so the Tigers, you can argue, and I think we kind of talked about this at the beginning of the show. There's three scenarios that you can argue the Tigers should do because of how inconsistent this team is. They could sell. They could sell
And
current
I don't think
assets.
any of these are going to be wrong.
No, if you can argue every single one. So you could sell current assets for future assets, like they've tried to do in the past and completely failed. Okay, they stay put, stay the course. You know, you could argue that too, hoping that these young guys start to deliver, figure shit out.
We're only 3 games back from the wild card. So you
Right,
stay
they're
put,
still
there's
kind
a
of
chance,
treading
yeah.
water, yeah. Or they buy, and that to me would mean okay. So they do a major prospect trade. The Tigers do have 2 prospects in the top 20, Max Clark and Jackson Jobe. Jackson Jobe, after Paul Skeens, Jackson Jobes is now the highest rated minor league player according to however they.
Okay,
You know
right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So you have those 2 guys. I don't know how other teams view them. I've only kind of followed their when I go on MILB.com and see,
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? So I don't know a lot about them. But maybe you trade those guys and you load up on a MLB ready bat now.
Sign
So
me up.
Yeah. So that's the scenarios.
I'm ready. Yeah, let's do that.
So if I was the GM, what would I do right now? I would absolutely trade the these future aspects for ready-made.
You're buying.
prospect. I'm buying.
You're buying.
I think this team needs a jolt. This team needs a jolt, and I think
Yes.
you cannot go backwards by buying by selling. I just feel like that is just pushing this organization back even further. They've done this before, and it hasn't done shit for them.
A 10-year rebuild.
Yeah, seriously.
And you're going to just...
So I'm looking at Job. I'm looking at Clark. I'm looking at potentially Reese Olson. I don't know if I have a lot of confidence in him. Jack Flaherty's on a 1-year deal. He's pitching lights out. He's only 28. Matt Manning, Casey Mize. Those guys are tradable assets in my mind right now. I know some of these guys are on the team. Manning's in AAA. Reese Olson's on the team, but I'm not saying trade all of these guys. You can't. You just cannot do that.
No,
but
no,
maybe
no. But
you know what I
those
mean.
are some pieces.
Those are some pieces I think, and now there's some untouchables. I think Tariq Skubal's untouchable. Riley Green's an untouchable.
Yeah.
Tariq Skubal, I may trade him as if you trade me for a time machine, and then all of a sudden pops out Julio Franco and Tony Gwynn from '92.
You can't. I agree. You can't get rid of Skubal. I mean, and we would get a lot for him. But okay, great. So we get 5 good prospects that we now got to wait another 3 years for to hope that one of them.
Yeah,
because that's how baseball works, right?
Yeah.
You get 5 prospects. You'd be lucky if you get 1.
You can't. Yeah, and I do believe Riley Green's young enough that I think he is really going to blossom into an all-star level player.
I
just think
too.
those 2 guys, but those first 6 that I mentioned, Clark, Jackson Jobe, Olson, Flaherty, Manning, Mize.
And it's funny you bring up Matt Manning. I said because I think Manning's kind of turning into. I don't know if he'll ever. He's a 4A player.
Matt Manning.
That's how I view him. He's a 4A player.
You know, I feel bad for him. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut
No,
you
you're
off.
good.
I feel bad for him because he's been kind of jerked around. Like I felt like he was good enough to make the team, and then they bring him up, and he's pitched well, and then he's pitched not so well. You know what I mean? You're kind of, And the Tigers have done this a little bit with their lineups and stuff. They just shuffle guys around. I just wonder if some of these guys need consistency. I'm sorry. Go
Matt
ahead.
Manning has a bag packed at all times down in Toledo because he never
Seriously,
knows
he
when he's
never
got to
knows.
make the drive up
right.
here.
Anytime
because
there's a
he's-
rain out, he's like, oh, shit.
Oh, we got a doubleheader.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead, head out.
Yeah, right.
I'm gonna go
I'm gonna
because
have
I'm
my
gonna
bag
pitch tomorrow.
packed.
Yeah.
Yep. I need
He's
my
got
axe.
a go bag next to the door at all times.
Yep. I need a new Axe body spray. And,
Guy can never unpack his suitcase because he never knows where he's gonna be. But no, what I was gonna say is, I said it was like 3 years ago. Matt Manning was one of our bigger prospects.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
I said trade him 3 years ago, and I caught so much hell for that. You can't trade Matt Manning. He's part of the future. He's part of the future. I was like, yeah, but we're. And I can't remember everything that I had to back up. This was 3 years ago, but I remember saying if I'm going to trade any one of our prospects, it was going to be Matt Manning. And here we are, 3 years later.
Yep.
He's up there, but guess what? You're not going to get much for him. I mean, you're really not going to get anything for Matt Manning.
You would have to package him. You couldn't
He'd
just.
have to be part of a
He'd
package.
have to be
deal.
part of a package.
You can't just
yeah.
trade him and get. You could, but you're going to get the number 320th prospect.
Right.
You package him with like a Flaherty or a Canna or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you might get some. But I
That's
feel
what-
like we missed an opportunity there. And again, Matt Manning, he's kind of that 4A player, right? He's up, he's down, he's going to make the team. We don't know why he's not up here. Why don't we move him to the bullpen? Right? He's got some good stuff. So I don't know really what their plan is for him, but I don't see him being a part of our team. And I didn't see that 3 years ago. And I think we should have traded him.
Yeah.
And we could have got something for him 3 years ago. Nothing crazy, but you could have got a little bit more than what you're going to get now.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. Because I felt like if they would have traded him a couple years ago, and I get your point.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Nobody, I didn't find anybody that agreed with me 3 years ago.
I worry that, like, they've had all these, these scenarios like that, and then they traded for like the Cubs' 9th best prospect, and then or Dow Lugo or whatever, and then he flames out, and you know what I mean. And it's just, I don't know. The Matt Manning thing was confusing. I was really surprised he didn't make the team.
I mean, I'm really surprised that he's not up here right now. Like, at least in the bullpen.
Yeah.
Right? Because, I mean, 3 years ago,
Yeah.
Faedo was supposed to be one of our starters.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
were
That's
going to
true.
have Mize. You were going to have Matt Manning. You
Yep.
were going to have Faedo.
Yep.
I'm missing somebody. It wasn't Skubal. There was another young pitcher that was supposed to be.
Oh, Bo Burrows.
Yeah.
I think that's his name.
That
I might have
sounded
screwed his
fam-
name.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds familiar.
Was one of the
And
guy- yeah.
Now, and Faedo, he's up and down. So it's like what you thought you had, nothing's there. Casey Mize.
Faedo,
None of those guys actually are doing anything. I mean, Faedo's in the bullpen now.
He's pitched okay in the bullpen. I think that's going to be his long term.
But that's why isn't Miller? Put Manning in the bullpen. You can always go back to starting.
Yeah.
But why don't you bring him up? I mean, he does have a decent arm. If he's not going to be a starter where he's not going to be inconsistent, well, then put him in for 2-3 innings. Make him a long reliever.
Yeah.
When one of these guys comes out and gets beat up in the first 3 innings, well, then he can come pitch 4, 5, 6.
Well, you know what? Maybe this literally just dawned on me. Maybe they're keeping Manning where he's at right now because they know they're going to trade Flaherty. And once Flaherty's gone, they're going to need Manning to step into that role, which could be in the next month. I would almost put for pretty certainty as long as the Flaherty doesn't have like this. I think he's got a lingering injury issue right now. But if he comes back and everything checks out fine for him, I think he will be gone.
So see, and that's where it puts it. There's no wrong answer to what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And what I'm worried about is, I get it. Flaherty, he's definitely a trade piece, and we could package him with somebody else. We could go get a hitter.
Yeah.
My only worry about thing is Flaherty's pitching well.
Yeah.
So how
Do you wanna
bad
lose
is that
that?
going to take a hit on
Yeah.
our pitching?
Right.
Right?
I think
That's where it's like, I don't know. Do you sell? Do you buy? There's an argument for every side, and it's like you almost wish you could buy and not trade Canna, Flaherty, right? Those are like the obvious ones to trade because they're
1-year deals.
rental players.
Yeah.
But at the same
I
time,
think Canada's on a 1-year deal. I know Flaherty is. I don't know about
Yeah.
Canada. He must. I think he.
but
probably
why?
Is too,
I don't think we should trade Flaherty. I know he is a trade. I think you have to find another way to keep him and go get.
Well, if
a
you don't,
hitter.
if you're not going to trade Flaherty, then you need to re-sign him because you're going to lose him in the offseason anyway.
Right. So yes, it's the other side. I was going to bring that up too.
Yeah.
If you don't sign him now you let him walk and you get nothing.
Yeah.
Now are we going to re-sign him? Probably not. I mean, more than likely, I could see us trading him.
I
I
think
just
he's-
would hate.
Yeah.
Oh, now we got a bat. So now we have an offense, but now we're giving up 6-7 runs a game.
Yeah.
Because we don't have pitching.
I think they need to, what I'm afraid that the Tigers are going to do is they're just going to trade Jack Flaherty, and they're just going to get
it's going to be Lorenzen all over again last year.
It's just going to be the organization, whoever they trade with, their top 10 prospect. You know what I mean? That's either a year or two away. Like if you really want to do something, get him and package up Max Clark or Job. Maybe not two pitchers. Maybe Flaherty and Clark, and get a ready-made hitter if you're able to.
And if you could get somebody like, obviously I'm reaching for the stars here, but God, if you could go get a player, and I don't want to go get a guy that is only going to be good for another year. If we could go get a guy 28, 29 years old.
Yeah.
Right? Ready to play for us for the next 5-6 years. Mm-hmm. Listen, I love the Matt Chapman talk. I love the JD Martinez talk, right? Mm-hmm. I loved all that. They're also only rental players.
Yeah, that's a good point. They need somebody that's going to fit.
They would have been smart to sign like you did Flaherty and Canna at the beginning of the season. Maybe use them as trade bait. But I don't want to trade these guys to just go get JD Martinez so that we can just get rid of him next year.
Yeah, right.
So I guess my whole thing is I'm with you. Bye. And the reason I'm saying that is because it's been 10 years since we made it to the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Now, I think everybody can agree, even if we make the playoffs, we make the wild card, we're not winning the World Series. Yeah. Okay? Let's just get that out there. This is not a push to the but I think this city, us as fans, we deserve to go to the playoffs. Not only just us, I think it'll show that the organization is actually trying, and that because if you go and you sell, well, guess what? Now we push back a couple years. Great. Yeah. It's already been 10 years of a rebuild.
Yep.
We have to buy. Let's make the playoffs. Even if you go and you lose the one game wild card, we made it. We've been there. We're back into the playoffs.
I think you're right. I think the organization needs a jolt. And
that's
you know what I mean?
Exactly what it is.
And it's going to require taking a risk. And these risks that I think that we laid out with are ones that could work out. You just got to get a guy that is pretty much ready to go. It's going to be a young guy, but it's got to be a guy that is ready to go.
Yeah.
And ready to provide some offense for this team. That's where they need to go.
Even if you went and got a guy that, like you said, ready to go, 26, 27, 28 years old, right? Still got a lot of time left. And even if he came packaged with a veteran player,
yeah, that's fine.
We're also not just one player away, right? Even if you went and got even if you went and got a veteran for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
We're not one player away from being considered contenders.
Yeah.
Right? I just want to make the playoffs so we can make the playoffs.
Yeah.
It'll be good for the city. It'll be good for the team. It'll show me that Scott Harris is trying to do the right thing. And I just have a feeling, just because of the past, that if we sell, now we're back 3 more years.
Let me ask you this really quick. Just do it really, really quick. Tell me what players, whether it's guys that are in AAA that we know of or guys that are on the team right now, just give me a handful of players that you know for certain are going to be on this team long term because they are going to produce.
Riley Green.
Yep.
Colt Keith. Job. I think
at some point, he'll be here. He's not that far away.
He is going to be here. It's funny because we just had this conversation. Last week about this. Let me see this list here. Because I'm drawing up like Skubal. Duh. Yeah, Skubal would have those 4 guys are going to be part of this. I don't want to know if Joe Green, Keith, and Skubal are going to be 3 of our core guys on this team. I'm hoping that it would have been Torkelson as well. I don't think it's going to happen.
I
had high hopes for Kerry Carpenter. I still like Kerry Carpenter, but he's
you remember in the spring training, remember he had that injury lingering, and you're like, oh boy, you know what I mean? That could be one that can for one trigger other injuries, and you just wonder if that's going to happen. And he's had some history of that.
Yeah,
he's a good hitter. He really is. And actually he's really stepped up as a corner outfielder too. I think he plays right field.
But they're only playing him against.
I know they're limiting his.
What is it? Left-handed batters.
Yeah.
He only or right. I can't remember, but whatever. He's only hitting up against one.
Yeah. They're saying he might be back at the end of July, so that's kind of interesting. But I don't know.
Oh, and Reese Olson. I don't want to get rid of him either.
No,
I think he has some good potential to be part of this rotation. Him and Skubal, part of this rotation.
okay.
Who do you got?
Okay, yeah, I'm Skubal Green. Man, I want to say Colt Keith.
I mean,
but
we just signed a
yeah.
signed him.
I mean, I guess you're kind of stuck with him. Oh, geez, a Carpenter.
I think the easier question would have been who's not going to be part of this team,
Oh God,
right? Because there's also and you never know, like
a lot.
like who could be. He's not like a great player. I like him personally. I think he's good for the team. But like Jake Rogers, not a huge standout player, but he could be one of those guys that I think he just kind of rides out whatever wave we're on.
He's
I mean, he's caught Skubal 100%
yeah.
of the time, and that could be a reason why he's part of this team. Not due to his special offensive talent or anything.
Yeah.
But Skubal might be like, I have one guy catch, and that's it.
Yeah.
And it's Rogers, so he's on the team.
Yeah.
Right. So I think you get guys like that.
Yeah, with Rodgers, because he's so good defensively. He does have some pop every now and then. He seems to handle the pitching staff pretty well. I think you keep him on because he'll be like a backup catcher. I'm keeping an eye on Dylan Dingler in AAA because he's starting to hit well. I don't know much about him otherwise, but that'll be kind of interesting.
You always are going to have players like that,
Yeah.
right? That you're always going to have just a little bit below average hitters on the team because you can't have 9 studs all the time.
Yeah.
We're not the 61 Yankees,
Right.
okay? So I think guys like that stay, right? And you can go back in all the history and look at all these, even all the Tigers, right? You always had a couple guys that were like, okay, they're good for the clubhouse, they're good for the team morale,
right.
to help, and especially a catcher. If you got a stud like Skubal, it'd be like if Verlander was here and he's like, yeah, no, I only want this guy to
You're right.
catch.
Then
Well, then he's staying on the team,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Yeah, I think Rodgers serves a purpose, and I like him overall. I mean,
not a standout player.
but he's a great catcher, a good defensive
if
catcher.
he can keep that mustache going, then he can sign him again.
I think either at the end of this year too, or next year, I think you're going to see Jace Young on the team. He's this is his first year in AAA, and he's batting almost 290. He had 2 home runs last night. He's been hitting the ball well, but that's another thing with the Tigers. So they'll draft guys, and then they'll draft another guy at the same position, and then they got to move a guy to another position. So Jace Young won a Gold Glove in the minors at second base. Okay, we already got a second baseman, so they moved him to third, and he's kind of struggling from what I'm hearing in the minors at third.
I mean, that's a huge
it's a major
right side
difference.
to the left side to the
Major
right side of the
difference.
field.
It's a major difference. I mean, that's what they did with Torque. Torque was a third
baseman, yeah.
And they moved him to first, and it's just, I don't know. I think he's going to be on the team long term. I don't know
And see,
much
a lot
about
of those
him,
guys are, and that's why I was having a hard time. And I said Green, Skubal, Keith. We're seeing what they can do. I see potential in all 3 of them. I want Young to do well. I want Joe to be well. I want Clark to be up here. But you also got to think this is baseball. There's no chance that you're going to have
guarantee.
all of
Sure.
these prospects. We have a chance. I mean, God, could you imagine if all 8 of these prospects clicked for one season?
Yeah.
That would be amazing. But it's baseball. It doesn't. Look at Torkelson.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't even mentioned his name on being part of this team.
You know what this team really needs is a winner. Is a somebody that's been on this team that's a winner. And I know
that's what we thought Hinch was going to bring to the table.
I know, and I think we thought that Baez was going to bring that too, but he's just past his prime. But they need somebody who can come in and show these kids how to win.
They messed up with Baez. I mean, that year, that shortstop year, right? You had Trevor Story, you had Baez, you had Carrera, Kyle Seager. There was one other.
They tried to go.
Why did we? You could have took any one of those other guys, and I'm honestly surprised that Carrera didn't come here because of Hinch.
Yeah,
I know we offered him a contract, and I think Minnesota
they
beat
surpassed it. Yeah,
but I thought Hinch would have been like, bro,
come on,
yeah. Let's go.
Yeah. I thought that was a lock. but we settled for Baez.
I mean, Seager. I was kind of hoping we got Seager too. But it is what it is. And Baez at the time when you're like, okay, but I think even if you look back, he was the last one on that shortstop list, although an all-star at the time and a World Series champion. He's got a ring.
Yeah. No, on paper it did not look like a bad pickup. You knew he was streaky.
But we can't blame all our faults on Baez.
No, we can't. No, you're right.
It's not.
Right.
Yes, he's an issue, and I go off on my tangents about him, but he is not the reason that we're in this position, right?
It's Avila's fault.
It's Avila's fault.
Al Avila's fault. I blame you.
And it's Avila's fault for doing what he did, and it's Chris Ilitch's fault for not opening up the checkbook for Scott Harris.
Well, I think what this offseason, if they don't go out and spend, I think then you're gonna know that he's a cheap ass.
Yeah.
Right. He's got to sell some more $5 pies.
Yeah, exactly. and how do you hold Scott Harris accountable? Like if you're handcuffed from your owner, like, hey, here's your here's your salary. This is what you can. And we still have a decent salary, so I can see both sides. Like we're still over $100 million.
I know we're well. No, I mean
we're not. Put it this way: we're not Kansas City or Oakland, where you only got $45 million to play with, right? For your whole team. Okay, that's handcuffed, right? We can still spend a little bit of money, and maybe that's why we're just writing out these prospects for so long. Because hey, I don't have the money that I need to spend, that I can spend, and
it's possible. I know they're pretty low on the. I mean, besides like having like a major contract like Baez that they have, but they're pretty low on the totem pole as far as where their payroll is at. So I don't know. I'm hoping it's just mainly due to the fact that they're just waiting for
right
these.
Now what they're set what it
is
for this year.
That it's just due to the fact that they're just waiting for some of these young guys to develop and get ready to win before they sign, somebody. So who knows?
It looks like we're at 110 million.
Okay.
We're at 110. So again,
where does that does it show where that ranks?
It does not, but I'm sure I can pull that up really quick.
I'm just curious. Because, I mean, God, that's pretty much almost Ohtani's contract. Him and Yamamoto, is that his name?
Yeah. Oh, and that Yamamoto hasn't done anything.
Oh, really? Oh, you know what? That's funny. I have not followed him. I know Ohtani's hitting the ball well. Do you see Aaron Judge's stats?
Dude, Aaron Judge can...
I was just looking at when I was pulling these stats earlier.
It's strikeout or a home run. And he's not even hitting that many home runs this year.
I think he's got 25.
Oh, he's at 25?
He's got 25, and he's got, I think his on-base percentage was like 440. I was like, holy crap.
Oh, shit, I must have heard differently. But I think he leads the league in strikeouts.
Oh, he probably does. Usually those guys, those guys.
So the Tigers are 23rd.
23rd in payroll?
Salary.
Okay. Thank you for pulling that up. I was just curious.
Yeah, like I said, Oakland's at the bottom. They're 62.
62 million.
Who's the top? Who do you think is the top salary team this year?
It's the Mets. I'm pretty sure.
It's the Mets, and they suck.
Isn't that crazy? Because if you just casually follow baseball, you're gonna be like, oh, it's the Dodgers, it's the Yankees.
Yeah.
Nope, it's the Mets, and where the Mets rank in their division. I think they're last, probably, right?
Yeah. Well, they sold everybody. They got rid of Verlander. They got rid. Pete Alonso won't sign with them.
They're still paying Bobby Bonilla.
Scott Harris, go get Pete Alonso.
The pitcher, right?
No, that's their first baseman.
Oh, I'm thinking of who was the guy that
Syndergaard?
Yeah, that they just released because he was talking. He's like, "Oh, this is the worst team I've ever played for."
Oh, Well, I know.
You know what I'm talking
Scherzer
about?
came out last year and said he accepted his trade because he knew this team was going nowhere.
Really?
Yeah. He's like, I'm out of here. I'm gone. Well, dude, they were stacked last year.
Yeah.
That's
just, you know what? That's just, you just know that this is a team that's just like, get me the best players. I don't care if they fit, if they this and that. Just sign them. I don't care. And then it just doesn't work.
Could you imagine being a fan of the Mets? You got a $308 million payroll. Is
that what it is?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I know. So the Yankees are right behind them. They're at 305.
Dude. Wow.
Okay, that's all their allocations. So their active 26-man roster is 188, but their total payroll for this year is 308, 305 for the Yankees.
That's fine. I mean, that's legit because they're paying. This is what they're paying.
Well, it's probably because they're still paying off half these guys that they're going to have Benias on their team for the next 20 years.
Oh, my God. Oh, they're literally still paying Bobby Bonilla. He's been retired, I think, since 01.
Yeah.
How did that work?
He has his own day, Bobby Bonilla Day.
Yeah.
Like, it's just,
He gets his annual $1 million check. Like, damn.
dude, what a way to go out.
Lord
like,
of mercy.
what do you do? No, I've been retired for, oh, you got a pension?
23
Yeah,
years.
$1 million a year
Yeah.
from the Mets.
I got my own. I got my own day in New York. Oh, lovely.
Oh, my God.
Maybe
yeah.
Baez is gonna have his own Javi Baez day. Let me buy his ass out.
Yeah, seriously.
Um,
But yeah, almost every single team, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams are over $100 million.
okay. All
Look
right.
at that, Cleveland, $99 million. They're one of the best teams in the league right now.
Yeah, it shows you, man. You draft well and make good moves, and you can play. That's
Exactly.
cool. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Is there anything else you wanted to
No, that
add
was
to
good.
the-
That was fun. That was a lot of fun. I like talking about that. We'll get more into this. I mean, this conversation is only going to get more intense as we get closer.
Yep.
And I'm hoping that it gets more confusing for us because that means we're still in it. Right?
It's fun to kind of take all this.
I don't want to
nonsense-
come. I don't want to come back. It's June 13th. I don't want to come back on June 30th and be like, sell everybody.
Yep. Yeah.
We're done.
Yeah. Yep.
We're done. We're 15 games below 500.
man.
We're 20 games out of the wild.
Is it football season yet?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want that.
No, I don't either.
Right.
It's fun to put all this shit in a blender and take a sip
Listen,
and see
I'm
if it's.
excited for the Lions to come back, but I don't want to just only be excited for the Lions to come back, right? I want the Lions to be starting up, and we're like, that's awesome, but hold on, we got the Tigers.
I know, and
we
well,
got
also
the Tigers
too,
coming.
Yeah, and also too, the Lions don't start until September. Their first game is in September. I mean, like by that point, okay, like summer's over. I'm like, I am not ready to piss away my summer. I'm ready to freaking get my flip flops on, my Speedo on, watch some baseball.
Yeah.
Maybe pour myself a rum runner.
I just don't want to be sitting there twiddling my thumbs waiting for football because the Tigers suck.
You're right.
I
know.
I want to be excited for both. Like, yeah, we're cool. We'll get to the Lions, but hold on, we're making a playoff push.
Right, I know. Yeah, or we're watching World Series of Poker when we're bored.
Yeah.
So, but
All right, that was fun. That was good. I like that.
yeah, that was a good
That
episode.
was a good episode.
Yeah, we'll be back for more in a couple weeks, maybe next week. Tune in. We love you. Keep it real.
Thanks,
it's gonna
everybody.
be if you live in the Metro Detroit area. Actually, if you live in you might be in Florida too. Listening, I know it's hot as hell there too right now, but it's about to
Oh.
be hot. Stay hydrated. Pick up your favorite beer. Keep that on hand. Turn
Did
the
we
AC
get a new
up.
sponsor?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean we're always listening to
The
sponsors.
Sun sponsor
Yeah.
us? Like, it's hot out there.
It's hot out there.
Oh, my God.
Next week it'll be Mercury. But yeah,
This
thanks
week's
everybody.
episode brought to you by the solar system.
Next week's episode brought to you by the International Space System. Space System?
Space system? Space station?
Space Station.
We'll be getting a letter in the mail. You can't talk about us like that.
Yep. Elon Musk is going to come get us now and blast us off into a rocket.
All right, people, you
I'm
have
down.
a good night.
Let's
We're
go.
out of here.
Yep, bye.
That's Mike's on the mics. Later.
Cheers.